The Sri Yantra or Shrichakra is perhaps the most studied sacred geometry in the world. Mathematicians and researchers, neuroscientists like Dr. Devi Padmanabha, Dr. Alexei Kulaichev, Dr. Stephen M. Phillips, etc. have published huge research papers, derived theorems to perfectly draw Shrichakra and its effect on human brain. Many of us have seen Shrichakra in our homes or temples, where it is worshipped with great reverence. But did you know that in 1990, a gigantic Sri Yantra mysteriously appeared in the Oregon desert? So massive that it was clearly visible from helicopter. It was later attributed to a group of field artists led by Bill Witherspoon. They were so inspired by Sri Yantra and its effect on human consciousness that they literally carved it on desert. But why did our ancestors create this extraordinary complex geometry more than 2000 years ago? Was it merely ritual symbol, a mathematical masterpiece, or something deeper is hidden? In today's episode, let's explore Shrichakra using core scriptures of Sri Vidya, its enclosures, and deeper philosophy behind each enclosure of it. Yantra literally means an instrument. Instrument for what? An instrument to expand human consciousness. Sri Yantra is considered the king of all yantras, and by the end of this video, you will know exactly why. Before getting into the actual Shrichakra, let's understand what Sri Vidya is. The Moola mantras of Devi or feminine energies are called Vidya or knowledge. In Sri Vidya, Lalita Tripura Sundari is the supreme deity. This tradition has broadly three core aspects: Lalita Sahasranama, Shrichakra, and Panchadashi Mantra. Basically, Shrichakra is the yantra of Lalita Devi. It is literally her. She lives in the Bindu, the central dot. And the secret Panchadashi Mantra is her sonic form. In the Brahmanda Purana, Uttarakanda, there is a huge section dedicated to Lalita Devi and her manifestation. It's called Lalitopakhyana. There, the Shrichakra is her chariot, and she sits on it to kill the demon called Bhandasura. At first look, Sri Yantra may look overwhelming, group of so many triangles. But it is formed by overlaying only 9 triangles, 4 upward facing, 5 downward facing. You know what? The 4 upward pointing triangles represent the Shiva principle and can be taken as 4 tattvas ruled by Lord Shiva: Buddhi, Ahankara, Manas, and Chitta. The 5 downward facing triangles represent Shakti. They represent 5 Panchabhutas, 5 Tanmatras. The overlaying of these 9 triangles give birth to 43 outward facing triangles. There is one more interesting thing. The point where 2 lines intersect is known as Sandhi, and there are 24 Sandhis in the Shrichakra. The points where 3 lines meet known as Marma, and there are 18 of them. And strangely, these points are closely linked to human body. How? Shrichakra is also a representation of human body called Pindanda or microcosm, and the world we see outside called Brahmanda or macrocosm. Thus, Marmas in the human body occurs at the concentration of the nadis, which are responsible for circulating the Prana-Shakti. These are very sensitive points. When they are damaged through trauma, the flow of Prana-Shakti is disturbed, leading to disability, chronic pain, or even death. Okay, in Shrichakra, apart from these, there are 3 concentric circles: 8-petal lotus, 16-petal lotus, and a square with 3 parallel lines and 4 outlets. But how can the Shrichakra be Devi, the individual being, and also cosmos. To understand this, we have to explore the core philosophy or darshana of the Shrichakra. Without this, it is almost not possible to understand the deeper meanings. Actually, we can explore this in two ways, but let's start with the easy one, Shiva and Shakti. When we think Shiva or Devi, we think them as a figure or deities, but Shiva is pure consciousness without any attributes. You can say he is Nirguna, while Shakti, she is energy with all the attributes or Saguna. So if we assign any attribute to Shiva, all those attributes are actually Devi. If you say Shiva is fair, has Jata or Bholenath, you are basically describing Shakti. Anything that Shiva says, thinks or feels is Shakti. If you think when we are worshipping Shiva, we are actually worshipping Shakti because Shiva as the formless is beyond worship. This entire universe sprung from that formless attributelessness state. In this state, Shiva and Shakti are said to be in perfect union, absorbed into each other. This is the Bindu of the Shrichakra. We can also explore the relationship between Shiva and Shakti beyond their masculine and feminine aspect. This concept is called Prakāśa-Vimarśa. It's a bit complex, so let's understand it with an easy example. Say, to cognize anything in this world, we must first know that we exist. If I don't know that I exist, I can't be aware of anything else, right? Imagine the state of coma. I know even there is a knowing that we exist, but to understand this concept, let's just assume I exist is the basic knowing. So now when we know that we exist, that one I becomes two. You may ask how? There is the knower, who is the subject, and that which is known, which is the object. So to know anything, there must be two entities, right? Let's apply this concept to Prakāśa and Vimarsha. Prakāśa is Shiva, the attributeless pure light. Shiva's self-awareness of his own existence is Vimarsha or Shakti. Like in our example, that one Prakāśa now becomes two. Aham, the subject, and Idam, the object. You can think of Vimarsha as pure mirror in which Prakāśa sees its own reflection and thereby knows that it exists. So Shakti is nothing but Shiva's self-recognition. I know this is very complex philosophy. I encourage you to rewatch this portion because it is the foundation of understanding the Shrichakra. So, this separation of Shiva and Shakti creates the universe. Now, Shakti becomes this cosmos of 36 tattvas through her own absolute freedom. To play as this universe, she needs to conceal herself from the reality or Shiva. This veiling is called Maya Tattva. The entire process of Shakti moving away from Shiva and then coming back to him is a continuous process in different dimensions. It happens simultaneously. It is not linear. This movement is called Spanda. So, Spanda has 5 stages. Tirodhana, the concealment where Shakti veils herself using Maya. Srishti, which is creation. Sthiti, preservation. Samhara, destruction. The final one is Anugraha, where Shakti removes her veil, Maya, and merges back to Shiva. Shrichakra consists of 9 Avaranas or enclosures. That means 9 distinct chakras. The names of the chakras denote the different activities they carry in this creation. As we already know, Devi in the Bindu expanded herself into the Shrichakra. Each of 9 chakras has a Chakreshwari, a form of Lalita Parameshwari, ruling that particular chakra. And smaller components like petals or small triangles are looked after by yoginis. When they are pleased, they bless the sadhaka with different siddhis. Worship of each avarana fills the upasaka with specific rasa. And you don't believe, Shrichakra is said to be comprised of 64 crores of Shakti Devatas. The entire Shrichakra can be divided into outer being from Bhupura to Ashtadala Padma and inner being from Bindu to 14-corner figure called Chaturdashara. The outer being represents the physical reality and the inner being represents the mental and spiritual reality. Surprisingly, a few sampradayas only consider the inner part of the chakra as real Sri Yantra, and few also say that the outer part is the later addition. Also, one more interesting fact, Trivritta, the three concentric circle here, is not considered as a separate avarana. Many sampradayas draw it but don't worship it. It's hard to say this is the perfect Shrichakra. But broadly, we can use this definition taken from Rudrayamala Tantra to recognize correct Shrichakra. Bindu Trikona Vasukona Dashara Yugma Manvasra Nagadala Sanyuta Shodasharam Vrattatrayancha Dharani Sadanatrayancha Shrichakrameta Duditam Paradevatayaha. There is one more very interesting analogy found in Bhavanopanishad commentary by Bhaskara Raya. There is a great deal of connection between 9 Avaranas and 9 chakras in the human body. Shiva as Bindu lives in the Sahasrara and Devi as Kundalini lives in the Mooladhara. Separated from Shiva, she created this physical life. The entire rise of Kundalini from Mooladhara to Sahasrara is compared to be Devi moving back to Shiva during Samhara. Okay, let's see what are the ways to traverse Shrichakra. There are mainly 3 ways. Srishtikrama, where sadhaka moves from Bindu to Bhupura. Samharakrama, moving from Bhupura to Bindu. Sthitikrama. Here the movement is bit different. Sadhaka first moves from Bhupura to Ashtadala Padma, the 8-petal lotus, and then from Bindu to 14-face figure called Chaturdashara. Bhupura is the outermost avarana which is in square shape with 3 parallel lines and 4 openings in the 4 directions. These 3 lines symbolizes 3 lokas, Bhur, Bhuvar, Swahar, and 4 openings symbolizes 4 Vedas. Not only that, these 4 openings also has guardian deities, Bhuvaneshwari, Dakshinakali, Kubjika, and Guhyakali. Depending on the sampradaya, these gates can be open or closed. If it is open, it means knowledge is open to anybody who wish to access it. If it is closed, that means you need Guru Diksha to enter the Sri Yantra through that sampradaya. There are 28 yoginis who resides in the Bhupura. They are called Prakata yoginis. Not only that, Bhupura is the perfect representation of our gross world. All our day-to-day activities and the things we consume through our senses are guarded by these 28 yoginis. Based on how our consciousness is moving, like in Srishtikrama or Samharakrama, they bind us to samsara or liberate us to the next avarana. The position of these yoginis again vary according to sampradaya. What I am presenting here is according to Bhavanopanishad, especially commentary from Bhaskara Raya. And here we are traversing in Samharakrama. The 28 yoginis in the Bhupura are divided into 3 groups. There are 10 spiritual attainments a seeker achieves at the outermost layer of Bhupura. Interestingly, apart from considering these Siddhis as magical powers, the Bhavanopanishad, commentary by Bhaskara Raya, also described them as particular rasa or perspective with which we approach the world. As you already imagined, in Srishtikrama, these Siddhis comes as the last stage as supernatural power. Whereas in Samharakrama, we encounter them at the first stage itself. So that's the reason they are expressed as Sattvic Gunas, which helps us to move towards Bindu. Anima Siddhi, Laghima Siddhi, Mahima Siddhi, Ishitva Siddhi, Vashitva Siddhi, Prakamya Siddhi, Bhukti Siddhi, Ichcha Siddhi, Prapti Siddhi and Sarvakama Siddhi are the 10 Siddhi Devatas. So second group is 8 Matrikas. These Ashtamatrikas reside in the middle line of the Bhupura. They has very deep root in Tantra, but in the context of Shrichakra, they represent 8 types of poison which hinders our journey towards Bindu. Not only that, when these poisons are digested, they shower us with particular kind of nectar. Again, it depends on how Shakti or our inner consciousness is moving. If she is moving away from Shiva, these Matrikas exhibit the nature of shadow by binding us to the samsara, creating this life play. If Shakti is moving towards Shiva, they act as light, showering nectar. Brahmi, Maheshwari, Kaumari, Vaishnavi, Varahi, Mahendri, Chamunda and Mahalakshmi are the 8 Matrikas. Next comes 10 Mudra Devatas. The innermost line of the Bhupura is guarded by Mudra Devis. These divine Devis direct and channel Prana Shaktis during worship. You may already know in Lalita Sahasranama, Devi is called as Dashamudra Samaradhya. So let's understand what they represent. While the outer 2 lines of the Bhupura relate to the external world, the Mudra Devis helps the transition from the outer journey to the inner one by channelizing the prana inwards. They help in transforming the shadow aspect of the Siddhi and Matrikas, which are binding us to the samsara, into the higher expression as light. So what it represents? Only when the attachments, conditioning and limitation of this world have been purified, then only one can enter the deeper Avaranas of Shrichakra. Sarva Sankshobhini, Sarva Vidravini, Sarvakarshini, Sarva Vashankari, Sarvonmadini, Sarva Mahankusha, Sarva Khechari, Sarva Bija, Sarva Yoni, Sarva Trikhanda are the 10 Mudra Devatas. This completes the first enclosure. This chakra is called Trailokya Mohana Chakra. The seeker who crosses this gets the charm to enchant the 3 worlds because he is purified to continue his journey towards Bindu. The Chakreshwari of this Avarana is Tripura. The Yogini is called Prakata Yogini. Next comes Trivritta, which most of the Sampradayas ignore, and it is not considered as a separate Avarana as I said before. These 3 lines indicate 3 gunas or all the triads which are explained in Sankhya philosophy. The Shodashadala Padma, the 16-petal lotus, is the second Avarana of the Shrichakra. After crossing the limitation of the Bhupura, the seeker begins to explore the true nature of desire. The 16 Gupta Yoginis, each represent a force of attraction, Akarshini. Again, depending on the direction of the movement of Shakti, this attraction can either bind us to the worldly attachments or guide us towards liberation. Because in Srishtikrama, Devi is veiling herself from Shiva to play in the creation. Kamakarshini, Buddhyakarshini, Ahankarakarshini, Shabdakarshini, Sparshakarshini, Rupakarshini, Rasakarshini, Gandhakarshini, Chittakarshini, Dhairyakarshini, Smrityakarshini, Namakarshini, Bijakarshini, Atmakarshini, Amritakarshini, Sharirakarshini. These 16 Akarshini Devis resides in the second Avarana. Chakra of the Shodashadala Padma is called Sarvasha Paripuraka Chakra. At this chakra, seeker is blessed with all his desires, or in other words, these yoginis guide him to the secret of contentment. Gupta yoginis guard this chakra. Not only that, these yoginis are also forms of 16 Nitya Devis, which we will cover in the Trikona further into video. And Chakreshwari of this Avarana is Tripureshi. Now we are entering into Ashtadala Padma or 8-petal lotus. This is the circle where our experiences take shape. This is the realm of Chitta, the inner space where our sight, sound, thoughts and memory is received, interpreted and stored. For example, we don't experience the world exactly as it is. All our likes and dislikes or perspective of this world or how we see anything is based on whatever knowledge we already have. And reservoir of this collective knowledge is called as samskara. And we collect and interpret any information through chitta. The chitta functions through 5 mental modifications known as chitta vrittis: pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra and smriti. These are the 5 vrittis constantly influence our perception, often coloring the reality based on what experience we already have. At this stage, yoginis help us to overcome these chitta vrittis to see the reality beyond our mental modifications. Ananga Kusuma, Ananga Mekhala, Ananga Madana, Ananga Madanatura, Ananga Rekha, Ananga Vegini, Anangankusha, Ananga Malini. These are the 8 Shaktis present in the Ashtadala Padma. The chakra of the Ashtadala Padma is called Sarva Sankshobhana Chakra. Here, all our beliefs, samskaras are shaken to see the reality as it is. Yogini here is called Guptatara Yogini and the Chakreshwari is Tripura Sundari. In the Shrichakra, the 4th Avarana is called Manvasra or Chaturdashara. It consists of 14 triangles. According to Bhavana-Upanishad, these 14 triangles symbolizes the 14 main nadis. These subtle energy channels through which prana flows. Now, prana is much more than breath. It is not just a breath we inhale. Breath is only its physical expression. Prana is the energy that animates the body, mind, senses, and everything actually. The way with which prana flows in our body through these subtle channels called nadis determines how we think, feel, and experience this life. In last Avarana, we saw how samskaras limits our worldview and how we think. This also limits the flow of prana. Because of these samskaras, prana repeatedly flow through the same familiar nadis, reinforcing the same emotions, reactions, patterns. This is why we often feel stuck in repeating the cycle. The purpose of Manvasra is to become aware of these inner patterns. As awareness deepens through sadhana, those conditioned pathways begins to loosen. Prana is no longer restricted to those old nadis. New pathways gradually open, allowing the energy to flow more freely and harmoniously. So we start to realize more than what we already know, and information will turn into wisdom. This transformation is deeply connected to Kundalini. When prana is scattered in habitual pattern, Kundalini remains stuck. But as the pathway of prana becomes purified and begins flowing inward through Sushumna Nadi, Kundalini naturally starts to awaken. Sarva Sankshobhini, Sarva Vidravini, Sarvakarshini, Sarvhalladini, Sarva Sammohini, Sarva Stambini, Sarva Jrambini, Sarva Vashankari, Sarva Ranjini, Sarvonmadini, Sarvartha Sadini, Sarva Sampatti Purini, Sarva Mantramayi, Sarva Dvandvakshayankari. These 14 are the Devis of Chaturdashara. Chakra of the Manvasra is called as Sarva Saubhagyadayaka Chakra. Here, Yogini is called Sampradaya Yogini and Chakreshwari is called Tripura Vasini. Bahir Dashara consists of 10 triangles symbolizing the 10 Vayus. Just to clarify, Vayu doesn't simply mean air. In the Sri Vidya tradition, Vayu is the principle of movement. It is the force that transforms stillness into activity. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought, every nerve impulse, and every movement in nature exists because of Vayu. Where there is a movement, Vayu is present. In the previous Avarana, we learned that prana flows through 14 main nadis. Bahir Dashara takes us one step deeper. It teaches that prana is not random. It moves in 10 distinct ways. These Vayus direct the flow of energy throughout the body, the mind, and subtle system. Sarva Siddhi Prada, Sarva Sampat Prada, Sarva Priyankari, Sarva Mangalakarini, Sarva Kama Prada, Sarva Dukkha Vimochini, Sarva Mrityu Prashamani, Sarva Vigna Nivarini, Sarvanga Sundari, Sarva Saubhagyadayini. These 10 are the Devis of Bahir Dashara. The chakra here is called Sarvartha Sadaka Chakra and Yogini is called Kulottirna Yogini. Chakreshwari is Tripura Shri. Antardashara, the inner circle of 10 triangles. Each triangle represents an aspect of Agni. Agni is again not physical fire. If we look deeply, it is the intelligence that transforms one state into another. Food becomes energy, a seed becomes tree, and every experience has the power to become wisdom. All through power of Agni. The same Agni transforms our thoughts, emotions, actions, and even our samskaras. When this inner fire is weak, old patterns remain. The same fear, attachments, and reactions keep repeating because nothing is truly being transformed. Sarvagna, Sarva-Shakti, Sarvaishwarya-Prada, Sarvajnanamayi, Sarva-Vyadhi-Vinashini, Sarvadhara-Swarupa, Sarva-Papahara, Sarvanandamayi, Sarva-Raksha-Swarupini, Sarvepsita Phalaprada. These 10 Devis resides in the Antardashara. The chakra of this Antardashara is called Sarvarakshakara Chakra, and Yogini is Nigarbha Yogini, and Chakreshwari is Tripura Malini. Vasukona consists of 8 triangles. The scriptures say Vasukona represents Vak, the power of expression. Most of us think Vak is just a speech. No, it is not. It is beyond that. Vak is the vibration which creates this universe. That's why our ancient scriptures say universe sprung from Om. Okay, now I will say a word apple. The moment you hear it, your mind already created an image of apple. It may already trigger some emotions of you are biting into a crunchy apple, sweetness you experienced while you are biting into it. But before all of that, there was just vibration, sound. The tradition called this vibration as Shabda, and the meaning we place upon it is as Artha. But the actual problem begins when we mistake our Artha as our reality. If someone criticizes us, the word they used is just Shabda. But the moment we think I am not good enough, they don't respect me, we have added Artha. That meaning becomes our reality. Over time, those meanings keep us bound to karma. This world is just a vibration, sound without any meaning. And life, what we are experiencing, is our own making, because we are the one who assigned meaning to this pure vibration. That's why our scriptures repeatedly said we are the creators. Also, one more surprising fact about this chakra is, if you know Lalita Sahasranama, yoginis present here at this chakra are the one who wrote it. They are called Vagdevatas. Vashini, Kameshwari, Modini, Vimala, Aruna, Jayini, Sarveshwari, Kaulini are the Vagdevatas. Vasukona is called Sarva Rogahara Chakra, remover of all diseases. When our vibrations are aligned, it eliminates all diseases, both mental and physical. Yogini of this chakra is Rahasya Yogini, and Chakreshwari is Tripura Siddha. Before getting into Trikona, we need to talk about 4 Astra Devatas present between Vasukona and Trikona. These are the weapons of Ma Tripura Sundari: Banini, Chapini, Pashini, Ankushini. Only when the Rahasya Yogini in the Vasukona blesses us, we can actually move into this sacred space between Vasukona and Trikona. Banini represents the 5-flower arrow, which symbolizes 5 Tanmatras, the sense objects. Chapini represents the Devi's sugarcane bow, symbolizing the sweet allure of life that arises through the Tanmatras. Pashini represents Shiva-Shakti, the power of will that creates something new. Note that this is not ordinary desire. Shiva-Shakti is the creative force, where desire is merely limited form of Icha. Ankushini represents Jnana Shakti, the power of knowledge that disciplines and directs the mind. At this stage, Sadhaka has gained the knowledge to control his life force and discipline the mind. By mastering these, he experiences the sweet allure of life even when he interacts with the world, creating something meaningful in the world. Now let's venture into Trikona. If you remember Prakāśa-Vimarśa concept, where pure light Prakāśa splits into 2, the subject or knower and object or known. There is a third aspect too. the process of knowing. Thus, Trikona represents Shiva as subject, Shakti as object, and the relationship between them. These three are represented by the three yoginis: Mahakameshwari, Mahavajreshwari, Mahabhagamalini. These again represent Ichcha, Jnana, and Kriya Shakti. But the word Maha is attached to them. They represents the kind of Maha Ichcha that longs to merge with divine, Mahajnana of the Supreme, and Mahakriya that works towards moksha. Apart from this, the Trikona is surrounded by 15 Nitya Devis, who are actually Devi herself. When Shakti combines with the three gunas and also 5 limitations, also called as Kanchukas, these different proportions creates 15 Nityas. And 16th Nitya is Tripura Sundari herself, who resides in the Bindu. These 15 Nityas are compared to 15 phases of the moon, and at the cusp, Tripura Sundari, the 16th Nitya, is present. This chakra is called Sarva Siddhiprada Chakra. The yogini of this Avarana is Atirahasya Yogini, and the Chakreshwari is Tripuramba. What an amazing journey it was. We are already at the final Avarana, the Bindu. Bindu is the undivided, attributeless consciousness that drives the entire play of the creation. It is the final destination where Shiva and Shakti remains undivided. This Avarana is called Sarvanandamaya Chakra. Its yogini is Parapara Rahasya Yogini and Chakreshwari is Maha Tripura Sundari. If you are still watching this video, naturally a question arises in our mind. How to practice Shrichakra? And one of the answer to that question is Khadgamala Stotra. Khadgamala Stotra is very powerful. Surprisingly, even though many texts claims its origin, it is not clear to which text Khadgamala is originally belongs. It is a sword that cuts through the illusion of a seeker. Using it, we can traverse Shrichakra in Samhara Krama. As mentioned initially, there are totally 64 crores devatas in the Sri Yantra. But in Khadgamala, we worship main 98 of them. There are totally 5 types of Khadgamalas, in which we add different kinds of suffix, such as Namaha, Swaha, Tarpayami, for different purpose. Also, we know that there are 3 aspects: Shiva, Shakti, Shiva-Shakti together. Each of them can be invoked using these 5 types of Khadgamala. So it makes 15 combinations. These 15 combinations correspond to the secret Panchadashi mantra. Personally, I find Khadgamala to be an amazing tool for meditating upon all yoginis. The effect of this stotra on one's consciousness is indescribable. By now you know why Sri Yantra is called as Yantra Raja. It is literally a universe in our palm and a very ancient and effective tool to discover the Devi within us. And the Khadgamala is one of its keys. That's all for today. Until next episode, this is Katha Mandira, the temple of Puranic stories.